Hey guys, welcome to Cali Plants. My name is Mark. Today we're here at the greenhouse and currently it's a pretty cloudy day but the sun is coming up already, so it's getting very bright at my face right now. But I currently have my setup rearranged at this part of the greenhouse because we were expecting a typhoon to come anytime today or maybe today until tomorrow, so we were expecting rain. So I had my plants moved away from the edge of the greenhouse so that I can keep them protected from the rain so that they won't get any rainfall. And my mother actually is more concerned with the plants than me because here at our area we're getting a lot of wind, so I have to keep them protected here at the greenhouse. So just so you know, so I just wanted to tell you that because I have my plants moved at this side, so you might be wondering why I moved them here. But currently I managed to put all the sedums I have, or most of my sedums I have, into the frame of the video, so you can see there that is my burrito and this is my sedum rubatinctum. Look at that. Look at that sedum rubatinctum. And also we have this sedum pachyphilum. Overseas they call this the sedum jelly bean, but here at the Philippines we call this, we also call this jelly bean, but usually we call this the jelly bean. When in foreign countries they call this the pork and beans, and this is the jelly beans. Actually, I have another sedum here. Can you see that? That's a new sedum. That's a sedum craigie. Okay, I haven't shown this on video before, but here it is. My very new sedum. That's sedum craigie. Looks like a pachyphytum, but this is a sedum. So I think we're now done with the checkup of our plants for this video. I think we're gonna have to move on to our actual topic, why you clicked on this video, and we're gonna be talking about succulent misconceptions. So I've got 5 misconceptions listed here at my tablet, and these are thoughts, these are ideas which I usually see from other people posting on Facebook or commenting on Facebook, and they usually think that succulents are like this when actually they are not. I've had experience growing succulents for a year, so I can pretty much say that most of these or some of these are not always true. So you can say that these are really misconceptions. The first succulent misconception that people often say is that succulents are easy to care for and they are for lazy people. So succulents and cacti, some people say that they are for lazy people and that they are easy to care for, that you can just basically put them anywhere and then they will thrive, and then you can pluck out any of their leaves and it will grow and then they will multiply. So some people say that succulents are very easy. But truthfully speaking, succulents are not like that. They are very demanding when it comes to their light. They are very picky when it comes to watering, and also they are very picky with their potting mix. So you might have a problem, you might have a challenge trying to find a good potting mix for them. And also in a lot of ways they are very different with houseplants. So if you have experience with houseplants, then succulents are not like that. You have to treat them a very different type of plant, which is why I wouldn't say that they are very easy plants. Actually, up until now, after all the time that I've been growing them, I'm still learning new things about these plants and I'm still making mistakes with them. So it's not always easy when it comes to succulents. They have a different type of challenge to them, and if you're gonna try to grow them, you will need to go through a learning curve to properly care for them because they're not always very easy, especially since different people will have different approaches to growing these plants. Some people will want to give them water right away, and some people will just plant them and just forget about them. So different people have different approaches. So one people's comments about these plants may not always be the same for others, which is why they're not always easy. And also because some succulent growers, those who are selling, they have more experience with growing these plants. They grow them in very good conditions like in a greenhouse, so they will always say it's easy for them to say that succulents are easy to grow when in fact they don't have the same conditions as to the people who will be buying from them and growing these plants at their homes. So growing for succulents in greenhouses compared to growing them indoors in homes are very different things. So some people who are growing them in greenhouses, they might easily say that it's easy to grow these plants, but growing them in homes, it might be a more difficult challenge. It might be more of a problem if you're trying to grow them in your home. The second misconception that people have when growing succulents, and this can also be said with those who are growing houseplants, that plants indoors will absorb radiation and they will also clean the air. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I've done my research when it comes to this, and I think it helps to break down the information before we come to a good conclusion about these plants. So let's start first with the type of radiation that you may find inside your home. So the radiations that come from Wi-Fi, that come from our devices, from monitors, from computer monitors, or from cell phone screens, they are non-ionizing radiation, which means they don't damage your health. They don't cause cancers. So in the first place, if you're not even living near Chernobyl, then you won't have much radiation to worry about, and you don't have succulents to protect you from those radiation. Now to the absorbing part, anything that is conductive, so especially metals and those things that have water in them, they do absorb radiation, but to protect you, they have to be in the way of the radiation source to keep you protected from the radiation. So if you're looking at a screen like me right now, and you want to protect yourself from the radiation that it emits, then you will need to put the plant like this, so that the plant can absorb the radiation and it will not reach you. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to put plants in front of your screen and away from you. And if you put them like this, then you will still absorb radiation. It will not be magically attracted by the plant. The plant will not magically move the radiation away from the screen and into it. So that's not how it works. But you can see that this sedum already has got like a very red leaf right there. So pretty. Okay, I've just been distracted by the radiation absorbing plant. Okay, next. Now when it comes to cleaning the air, articles online will say that NASA researched on this, that they found out that plants do clean the air, but they actually didn't do that for your homes. If you're gonna look closer into that study, you will find out that NASA did that research on a situation that is similar to a spaceship and not into a home, not similar to a home. And it is actually found out that you will need a lot of plants to clean a single room. So you will need to have about as much plants as the room can handle to make sure that the air inside it is clean. And no one, not a single one of us, have the space and have the amount of patience to care for that lots of plants. Now some of you might say that plant photosynthesis actually uses up carbon dioxide, which might be bad for our health, and they also release oxygen, but these much plants will not be enough for a single human to breathe in oxygen. So if you want to have clean air, it might be better if you would just open your windows and add air circulation to your space, like using fans. It will help clean the air much better than succulents or these house plants. What I think would be a good benefit of growing succulents indoors is that they help our eyes relax. If we have something to look away when we're stressed at looking at screens, and we have some green or some colorful succulents to look at, then that will help us relax if you're growing them indoors. Now, the third misconception when it comes to growing succulents is that succulents are desert plants, when actually most succulents that you're looking here, they are not desert plants. They didn't come from very dry areas at all, and if you have experience growing them, that you will know that succulents don't survive droughts for very long, for months. They will need water at least about once every 2 weeks. So that's just, I think, is the minimum amount of water they need to survive. So if you think about it, then that means that these plants don't survive in deserts where there is no rainfall for about months and months. So not all succulents come from places like that. And I've researched that succulents can come in all sorts of climates. They can come from deserts, from semi-arid areas, and from tropical areas. So any type of climate can have succulents growing in it, just depending on the succulents in that area. Now for the plants that truly come from deserts, I would say that cacti and agaves do live in the deserts in the wild, but most of these crassulas, they grow nearby other plants in rocky places, in rocky terrain. If you look at pictures of them online, you might actually find them growing nearby other plants, so they don't survive in very dry areas. Other plants may also survive in the places where they are from. Now the only benefit with them is that they can store water so that when it is dry, they can still survive, and also because of their shallow root systems, they can grow in more spaces than other plants which are terrestrial, which can't grow on rocks. So they can grow in little crevices on the rocks of the place where they come from, or beside a hill, beside a rocky hill. They can grow inside those crevices. So that's where Crassulaceae, that's where these plants actually come from. Now, the fourth succulent misconception that people think about these plants is that they hate water. So some people will just give them little droplets of water every now and then to make them thrive, to make them survive, when actually succulents are not like that. They don't hate water, they just hate retaining water for too long. What I can say when it comes to succulent and water is that their water needs depends on the condition that they are in. So if they are in a more sunnier condition, where they're getting more direct sun, then they will need more water. But if they're in a place that has less sun, so that has partial sun or minimal sunlight, then they will need little to no water at all. Which is why if you're growing succulents indoors, you might not have to water them as much as when you're growing them outdoors. This is also the reason why if you're getting cloudy weather at your place, then you will not need to water succulents at all, because succulents actually need both sun and water to grow. So if they have less sun, then they will not take in water. So it will be pointless to water them if they're getting little sun, if they're not getting light at all, because it will not make them grow. And if they're not absorbing water, or if they're absorbing too much water, then they will get rot and they will die. So you will need more light for them to use up the water that you're giving them. Now, if you're gonna say that cacti, unlike succulents on the other hand, will hate water, it's not always true. If you've asked a cacti grower, then you will know that cacti actually absorb a lot of water. And in the wild, giant cacti like saguaro cactus growing in the desert actually have wide-reaching, far-reaching roots, and they actually absorb a lot of water that other plants don't grow nearby them, because they steal the water from other plants, which is why you can find that giant saguaro cacti in the deserts actually live alone. So they live far away from other plants because they kill other plants because they absorb too much water. So cacti doesn't really hate water, and succulents doesn't hate water. With the right sun and the right potting mix, you will actually find out that succulents absorb a lot of water, and they will even grow more if you give them more water and plenty of light. Now, the fifth misconception that people have with succulents is that succulents absorb water via their leaves, and that is not actually the case. That is not always true. Plants that absorb water through their leaves are usually tropical plants, and I can say that this is true for orchids and for bromeliads, but this is not always true for succulents. Succulents will have pores on their skin that can take in moisture, but they usually don't use that for growing. So they don't use the water in the air to grow. They use the water that evaporates from the soil into the roots, and they use that to grow. Now, if you're gonna think that succulents absorb water via their leaves, then you will be spraying them to water them, and you will think that spraying them will make them grow. But actually, succulents release water during the night in their metabolic cycle known as camp photosynthesis. So succulents will actually release water, and if there's plenty of moisture in the air around them, then it will be a harder time for them to release their excess moisture on their leaves. So if you're gonna spray them during the afternoon or during the night when there's plenty of humidity around, then you're making it harder for them to release their extra water from their leaves. And because of that, if they can't release that extra water, they will have edema, and they may also have rot because they have extra of humidity around them, and fungi thrive on that humidity. So with that extra humidity, they can get rot, they can die if you give them too much humidity if you spray their leaves. So I would suggest that you avoid doing that. It's much better to water them via the roots and not via their leaves. And what I can say, if you're growing in tropical climates, then it will be best if you keep their leaves very dry. Don't keep them wet for too long. Now, you might not believe me right away after hearing all the explanations I gave when it comes to misconceptions, but I'm sure that if you research on it, you will find out that what I said about this video, what I said about misconceptions, is that they're not always true. And actually, if you consult with a succulent expert, with a grower, with people who have more experience when it comes to growing cacti and succulents, they will say that these misconceptions are not actually true. However, if you like our topic today, then I really hope that you click the thumbs up down below. It really inspires me, guys, to keep on making this type of contents for you, so that we will always have something new to learn when it comes to growing succulents. Also, if it really helped you, then I hope you also click the join button down below. By joining this channel and giving a little bit of donation, then you will really help us to keep on making this type of contents. And also, I would like to shout out our members who are consistently giving us some of their cash, some of their donations, so that this channel can still thrive, so that this channel can grow along with you guys. So I think that's about it for this video. It's getting really hot in here and I just want to get out of here. I'm sweating already. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.